Designer for all our Dodge interiors. As the title says, Dan Lee is lucky because he's got these beautiful canvases he can use to talk around. I've got a PowerPoint, so bear with me. We have a lot of fun with this as a team developing what you see here. The culmination of the exterior interior brand has been a lot of fun for us, and it's always fun for us to get up and talk about these things and tell you all about what inspires us and how we got to what you see here. So really excited for you guys to get in the car, so I'm not going to ramble on forever, and experience what's here. So you can tell a Dodge designer, or any, I guess, maybe Stellantis designer that might have a little Mopar in their blood, that they get to design the interior of the new Charger, all new Charger, not a refresh, not an update, an all new Charger. That is kind of the holy grail for a lot of us. So think about that for a minute, let it soak in. So let me go through the interior and tell you about the fun we had. So just like Dan mentioned, the designers use words like proportion and graphic and a lot of different terms that many people don't understand, but it's what drives us. So the team meetings that we had between the interior, exterior, the brand, we meet weekly. We talk about design, we talk about content, we talk about what's going to make the vehicle awesome. And what Dan went through on the outside, getting back to some of those design comments, we did the same thing on the inside. So what he uses as graphics on the front end, the stuff on the body side, the shapes, the highlights that you see as a result of that on the surface, we took that back and used it on the inside. So I'll tell you about that. So a little bit back to history. 68 Charger. Some of you in the room are closer to this than others, but I think we all know that car is iconic. The details that are on the car we actually used on the interior. So many of you may not know, or some of you do, but the instrument panel on the car has a vertical rib texture on those specific models in 68, 69 that have that vertical texture that knows the grille. So Dan not only used it on the outside, we used it on the inside as well. So even the B-body shape in that instrument panel, there's a graphic nature there that you don't really come off as like firsthand noticing, but it actually inspired us to develop what's on the instrument panel. So you can see the line work here. Kind of a cool thing. I love this image that Jack created. So our lead designer, Jack Lew, did this image, and it almost looks like a spaceship, right, of the instrument panel floating, so I thought that was really cool. But it creates the cockpit that you see in front of you when you get in the car. And we wanted it to have a little bit of a floating effect, and I'll get to that in a minute. Some design terminology that we use to drive this whole project. So Dodge, all our Dodge interiors we want them to feel visceral, they're dynamic, and then driver focused, first and foremost. So we want them to be performance cars, everything right at your fingertips. There's some really cool features on the steering wheel and elsewhere that I'll tell you about. Welcome to the cockpit of the Dodge Charger Daytona. So again, driver focused, that's kind of our main thing. If you've noticed over the years, we've placed the center display on the instrument panel angled toward the driver. So there's a 9-degree angle on all of that. So the center stack, the switch is right underneath where you can control your HVAC. The vents even below that, it's all set up aimed toward the driver. Driver is first and foremost in the cars. A pure design aesthetic that kind of surrounds that driver. So the line work, the shapes, the volumes, and again, those designer terms that we use, surround the driver, and that's really important to us. Make the driver feel like they're in a cockpit, right? And there's very technical details that kind of get to that. We used kind of a layered effect, if you will. So to create the feeling of lightness in the instrument panel, and throughout the door, there's these lines that wrap around. We layered it and celebrated it with lighting. So you've probably seen some of the lighting so far in the vehicles that we have here today. They light up, you can see it during the daytime, and there's some color adjustability, which I'll go through in a minute, but that created the proportion of what you see there, and those are some of the things that we borrowed from the exterior. So the line work on the quarter panel, that kind of water line that runs around the outside body, some of that you see starting to come through here as a kind of a collaborative form effort, if you will. We've also taken special effect to what we have in the powertrain and used it on the interior as well. So we electrified powertrain, we've been moving further in technology with latch control, so electronic latches to open and close the doors. It's like, okay, instead of a handle, why don't we put a button there if it's electronic, and that way it frees us up on the design of the door itself. So you're not designing around a physical handle, but they've got a button there. It's intuitive to use because it's placed where your hand naturally goes to open the door. You just hit the button and get out. So hopefully nobody has any trouble doing that. It's really easy. So, and of course you're seeing some textures that have developed The badging and a little bit of jewelry on the interior. Most of our Dodge products we've done in the past, Challenger and Charger, we call out what the vehicle is on the instrument panel. This was no different. We wanted it to feel very similar. All our BEV vehicles have that Daytona badge, and when we see the ICE, the internal combustion engines coming, it'll be Charger. The steering wheel I mentioned, so some neat details on this. Performance steering wheel, it's flat on the top and the bottom, great visibility to that 16 and 12 inch cluster, or the 10 inch clusters that we have in front of them. Drive modes are right on the wheel. There's some functional details there that from a driver's standpoint, performance car standpoint, we wanted to make sure came out. So those buttons are really important. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Of course, the power shot, which is a really cool feature that you want to be able to experience when you're driving the cars today. One of the cool things about designing a muscle car, right, and being Dodge is you can draw upon the past. So back in 2008, actually 2009 specifically, when the manual transmission of the Challenger came out, we had a pistol grip shifter. Obviously that relates back to late 60s, early 70s of the pistol grip we had of the past. Decided not to use the wood grain again. We wanted to make it feel more modern. So it's wrapped. That leather that's on there is really cool. It's got a great feel to it. The shifter itself has a great feel. So instead of doing like a button or something of an old school, say, thing you'd imagine of a physical shifter, we actually created a paddle on the front side and the way it operates. So grab your hand, use the paddle almost like a trigger on a gun. Same thing, pistol grip. So, and of course the power button or start button, if you will, is right behind it. So that functional grouping of elements, both on the wheel and right there at the shifter, puts everything really close and right at your fingertips to use the vehicle efficiently and easily. And in front of the shifter, there's a generous sized bin up there and the wireless chargers on the right side. So you can use that while you're out driving for that connection. The screens themselves, very important to us to have the right technology in the car. We've made a huge leap in what we've put in there. These are what we call full array local dimming displays. So they have a very high amount of contrast so that you can see the graphics come through. There's a lot of detail. They're very high resolution. And what's really cool about them is even during the daytime and your nighttime drives, a lot of times you can see the edge of the display versus where the lens stops. So if you look at the images and when you look at the car, it's not just a square shape like a phone or an iPad. We've designed that shape around it, but the lens that covers it, you can't see the difference because of that screen technology we put in there. So very proud of that. So standard 10.25 inch cluster, optional 16 inch that comes standard on this track pack. We'll get to that detail in a minute. And on all the vehicles, we have a 12.3 inch central display. So really high def, they work awesome. So our RT starts out with that 10.25. Scat Pack starts out with the 16 inch cluster. And then we have different layouts. So on the steering wheel, there's a button on the left side that looks like it's got 3 little pieces of paper. Those are different pages. So you can scroll through those and select either one of these, classic, focused, or the navigation windows. So the classic one has got kind of a very, very high-tech modern version of like what old gauges might look like in the future, if that makes sense. Bear with me. The focused is kind of cool. It's almost got this Zen-like animation that's happening in the background, but it only shows your speed, kind of just the bare necessities. And then of course navigation brings your navigation screen front and center. And all of these work with the heads-up display that's in the instrument panel as well. So make sure you cycle through the drive mode, cycle through these different modes here, and get an idea of what different information is available there. Lots to mess with, lots to play with, but it's all very intuitive and obviously easy to use. So between all of the different, you can also use the up, down, the center button, and the left, right button to control all these different displays that you see here, plus race options are displayed up there. And note what changes on that HUD when you're driving, or obviously drive safely. Note what changes in the HUD versus what's on the display because it moves around. It's very intuitive of what's displayed where. It's pretty cool. So obviously Uconnect 5 have been winning awards for our Uconnect systems. This one's no different, even just a step above. TomTom navigation, you've got all your performance pages available. You can divide the screen up as you see here behind me. That screen is set up on a few different windows, if you will, and you can reconfigure those so that you have the most pertinent things. So if you want to have your contacts up there for like messages, you can have a nav screen up or whatever you think might be the best thing for you, and you can control it for different profiles in the setup when you get into the vehicle. So drive modes. I mentioned it's on the steering wheel, and you saw the image of the steering wheel. So drive mode's on the lower left. one button press to get to the drive modes popping up on the screen. So no more do you have to fumble through trying to get through different displays or button touches on the screen itself. You can go right to drive modes, or you can just cycle through them with the left and right arrows that are right there. Pretty cool feature, and these are the drive modes that are there. And that's the screen that pops up on the upper right that you see. Within the center display, there's controls there. There's G meter, power, a whole slew of very cool features technically that the vehicle brings to that center display that you can see. There's even another gauge display up there that's kind of the round one that's really cool, very high tech again, but kind of a nod to the past of what someone might mount on their muscle car, right? That 3 gauge panel that's on the racing cells, I think thousands of. Drive mode switch. You can see the animations that are in the display there as it runs through. A lot of fun with this. Drag, make sure you cycle through these and see the changes in the gauge cluster. The drag mode has the fratzog that's pulsing in front of you, and that changes if you get to a certain speed, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. So have fun with the car, but be safe. So, sport, you've got focus displayed over there, there's drag, there's the fratzog that I was talking about that kind of lives and breathes. The track mode is really cool, the power display is on the left and right of the lower, so take special note of this. We spent a lot of time getting these right and making it feel right with everyone's input, Brand's input, ourselves, and it came out, I think, awesome. And having a lot of fun driving the car around the past couple of months. The seats. So what's a performance car without a fixed headrest seat, right? So instead of having movable headrest, kind of a typical thing, what's available on this is these high back seats, which you'll see in these cars. This one's got the high back. This is a optional red seat that this has got in it. There's pass-throughs there, right, to kind of keep the interior open. A lot of fun with these. And you can see what the effect is here. There's a hard back panel on the back side of the seat, which actually opens up some space for your legroom. So the outgoing Challenger two-door, right, had a certain amount of space. This has 37.2, which is almost about 4 inches longer. So there's very commodious in the back. I've got 3 daughters myself, so the 5 of us go out to dinner in the car all the time. Instead of taking our Grand Cherokee, because this one's so much more fun, and never complains about legroom and people elbowing everybody. So it's a great car to live with and have a lot of fun with. So the coupe, this is the cutaway view we got of the coupe, and some might ask the difference between the coupe and the sedan. It's literally the B-pillar and the door. Everything else is the same. So we use the same mentality. So the doors, there's just a stretched version of it that we did. We even had some fun with the lighting on the 4-door in the back. So that lighting carries through on the interior. So it's a lot of fun when you see the sedan when it comes later next year. The roof. Dan talked a little bit about the roof line, but the roof is glass or steel. A lot of fun with the roof here, especially from the back. You get a great view of what's going on. Nighttime is awesome. You see reflections of lighting, and obviously through to see lights go by. And of course, the area that we're in here, you can see that big, beautiful blue sky through the glass, which is really cool. Or, even if you're in the back laying down, Dan mentioned he had his dog in the back. There's all kinds of scenarios that we created when we were coming up with the design of the vehicle. Maybe camping or a mountain bike back there or whatever, but use the back for all kinds of fun, right? So there's even an area down at the back underneath the panel that's underneath here. It's got our charge port in it. So we've had fun with the storage in the back and how that all opens. So didn't push it hard enough. And you'll see that in the back. So the hatch, kind of a hidden hatch feature is awesome. There's an animation here that's going to play. So we've got all this space that's back there, 133% more than what the outgoing Charger was. And it's much easier to use because you don't have that bulkhead that goes across below the back window, right, when it's just a trunk. So this animation of the wheels and tires going in, I actually lived this like a week and a half ago. I picked up some wheels and tires from my daughter's Hornet and put them in the back of this. It was so easy. It wasn't like trying to jam them in underneath that bulkhead and everything. Awesome amount of space there. Dan mentioned he stopped at Home Depot and used it for some wallboard and whatnot, but we're all having a lot of fun with this. We even had another designer that put a windshield, I think, for his Viper in the back, and it's this giant box and it went right in. So put the seats down, use the space, have fun with the vehicle. We've had a lot of fun creating it. So a little bit of detail. I talked a little bit about the lighting, attitude adjustment lighting, we call it, as it kind of cascades up from the armrest and around on the instrument panel. The vehicles, that don't have the carbon suede package have a really cool texture that light dances on. 64 colors available. You can adjust the colors on a slider within the center display, and you can even adjust the intensity as well. So if you don't like it so bright, turn it down. Or if you like it really bright, turn it back up. So it's kind of a neat feature to have. And this is what it looks like. There's those colors and how the slider thing works. So RT versus Scat Pack. You start out with your standard RT. There's cloth seats in the standard RT and Scat Pack. Leatherette and cloth in the Scat Pack, cloth seats on the RT. The 1025 cluster on the RT. The Scat Pack gets the 16-inch upgraded. We move to the Plus package. You move to leatherette, the lighting you get as part of that package, the leatherette on the Scat Pack, leatherette on the RT. The 16-inch cluster comes standard with the Plus package as well. But the lighting and the seats are kind of where things start to change, right? You can get red or black interior in any of them. Once you start moving up into those Plus packages and beyond. The track package gets you leather and suede seats, so a little more grippy seat performance aspect to add to it. And then when we go to the carbon suede package, which is really cool, which I believe this vehicle has, yep. We used a 4x4 weave for the carbon fiber. There's a little bit of detail here in a second on that one. That we use throughout those areas where the light cascades on it, so the dance of light off the carbon fiber is kind of a neat effect. And then of course the suede that's on the seats has got an embossed pattern in it that's really cool. So make sure you take special note of what that pattern is. Very technical, performance related. We had a lot of fun with that. The cloth seats, as you see here, again, another technical pattern that we thought was really cool for what is a Dodge and kind of our new EV muscle car. And then we've got another version here with the carbon suede, and that's where that embossed suede comes in, and you can see the detail on the carbon that you see there on the lower right. We've had a ton of fun with this. Again, going back to what I started in the beginning about being able to design the all-new Charger is, what's to become an icon in the future, right? So, as Matt mentioned, I've been blessed to have some good experience with some really cool cars in the past, and this is another one that I can put on that list. So, a lot of fun with that. With that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Audrey. Thanks, everyone.